Ladies and gentlemen, this is Strong Style Stories. I am Joel, and I've made notes so I can get this person who is my co-host correctly. This person is from Preston, playing at left back and left wing, with 106 appearances for West Bromwich Albion with 15 goals, 113 appearances for Sunderland, 104 appearances for Everton, 76 appearances for Wigan, including stints at Hull, Huddersfield, Derby and Coventry. For Republic of Ireland, 110 appearances with 8 goals. A career spanning 1995 to 2012. It is Kevin Kilban. Kevin Kilban, ladies and gentlemen.
You've done it again, Joel. You've done it again.
Oh, you're not Kevin Kilban?
No, I'm not Kevin Kilban. But what a career. Holy moly.
What a career, and that is to pop one person, I'm afraid. Mark, you got it. There you go. Very good friend of mine, Mark, the right. He's a lovely guy. He looks a little bit like an Easter egg. Perfect this time of year, and he
Colorful
is.
or?
Oh no. I don't think they've done white chocolate as white as Mark. Sort of translucent, almost hollow, plasticky type.
This is just your time to get just potatoes in on your friends. That's all that this is.
Well, I mean, I am trying to say, hey, Mark, thanks for all your support over the podcast, because he's helped me out loads. But I did this to pop him. Yeah, Mark's a great guy, and I was just about to go live with TJP. I was like, I have no clue how I got here and what I'm about to do. So he was very helpful and very kind with his friendship. But no, it is Kevin Kelly, who is the voice of terrestrial TV for WWF television. If it was on Channel 4 a lot over in the UK. Mm-hmm. The voice of Ring of Honor throughout. It's running hotel ballrooms and various other places. One of my favourite is seeing the return of Samoa Joe, and he's having to negotiate his way around a ballroom floor. What a wonderful scene! And then the voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is where we're based. Basically, say hello to the people, Kevin. Lovely. That is a swear in the UK, but peace. I'm assuming. Oh dear. You've been hanging out with Lord Gideon Grey again.
Lord Blears, Lord Alfred Hayes, Lord Gideon Grey. All three of them.
And Lord the Gay.
2 are dead. 1 I wish was dead.
Well, if you know the answer to that, dear listener, do email in at strongstylestories@gmail.com. Which one is still alive?
I think Lord Blears he might still be alive. I don't know.
I think Lord Blears is alive.
Well,
but he's alive in our hearts.
Then I've made a bad joke.
Hey, that you are stepping on my toes there, son. But it's all right.
You bring up Lord Gideon Grey, and his name and face makes my blood pressure rise.
Yeah. But lovely. I want to say friend of the pod, but I haven't spoken to her in many years. Zoe Lucas. I would go up to her and say, Zoe, do you have any? Me and Tom, who wrestled as Jethro Roos back in the day where he was an athlete. Apparently, me and him would go up to her and just ask, "Oh, where is the best of Lord Gideon Grey DVD, please?" Every time we would ask for Lord Gideon Grey merch. But I've turned because I had TJP there, and I felt as an Englishman I needed to apologise for him. So and where is he?
Was that a lot of the heat with the United Empire? Was when they brought him over? Is that kind of where it started to fall apart?
Yeah, it's when he decided to buy Crocs, and he was very particular about his charms. No, I think it might have to do with William Ospreay moving from developmental New Japan all the way up to the big leagues in AEW.
You're convinced that New Japan is nothing more than a developmental league for all elite.
Yep. And
I was a bit shaken and a bit taken aback when I saw that Cal Newman won the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, well, we've had that discussion where I've said I think they're trying to rinse him as much as possible before he goes, but you've said no, no, you need to put it. But look, he's going to AEW in 3 years, so it's fine. And
Well, here's the thing. There's two ways, and I've thought about this. Let's boil it down so we could argue the nuance, the subtlety of whether he goes or whether he doesn't go. I think we both agree that eventually he's going to wind up leaving New Japan for greener pastures financially somewhere else, probably AEW because of the relationship. But him winning now says one of two things to me. A, they don't mind putting a foreigner in front of a half full building because that's what you're going to have for Sakura Genesis. Okay.
yeah,
And number two, they don't want the champion to have to beat Uemura yet or at all. They want to save that match. So there's more money and more value in Uemura down the road than there is in Callum Newman today. Now, is that because Callum Newman is not an established draw, or is it because they know Callum Newman is on his way out and they're trying to get every dollar, every potential match they can out of him before he leaves? To be determined.
we'll know by the G1.
Right.
Well, because actually, even if he's in the
No,
final,
we'll know next.
it doesn't
we'll
matter.
know next year, next contract.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. That was a contract season. I was talking to a lot of different people, and obviously we had some news on David Finlay, and we had some news on various people that were in and out. I remember people were making a big thing about Drilla Maloney, and I was like, I think he's staying. And New Japan have done incredibly well to keep him, I think. But unfortunately, it's the relationships. I think probably a little. I would love to say it's one-sided, but they're getting Takeshita and they're getting Hechicero and they're getting, Andrade. So they are getting something, but it's that stability. And we're going to talk about something that really, really made me quite sad, to be honest with you, Kevin, because it's probably one of the greatest wrestlers, probably having the greatest wrestling year until he did something incredibly stupid, and that's Katsuyori Shibata.
When we pitched this idea of this podcast, we knew a few of the stories that we wanted to talk about. We sort of wanted to do the timeline thing. We want to let people walk in, the shoes of the wrestlers who are going across Japan. What's the experience like? What were the standout big matches? Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, we have to talk about the night that Shibata almost died.
And here's the thing: I wasn't friends with Kevin at the time. I hadn't spoken to I was just a fan with I was just a fan with a Chromecast back in the day, if you remember that, having to Chromecast it to my TV. And I remember watching it. I remember pacing around. I was like, "This is incredible." But I just wasn't aware. And the reason why I wasn't aware is Shibata sold like he was hurt all the time, and I was like, "Oh wow, that was an incredible match. That's one of the best matches I've ever seen." And then we've got, he had his brain removed. But we'll sort of cover that. But in the time that I was sort of writing up my notes, I did look at some notes for the podcast that never happened. I was sitting down waiting for Kevin. I was like, oh, actually, I haven't heard from Kevin, as we've covered previously. So he was not doing well. And I look back in my notes, and it's the new beginning notes, Kevin. Do you remember where you Yota Tsuji versus Jake Lee?
Yes.
So a good friend of ours at TV Asahi contacted me. And I might have yelled at him for having that match put on because I was incredibly angry at you've launched an incredible year in Tokyo Dome. You've sold it out, and then your follow up is Tsuji versus Lee, and Lee just shits the bed, and I was so angry. I wrote it down that I must get this off my chest. And the fact that I've come to write these notes and I've reread reread the rant, I was like, yeah, that was really I was angry at that. And the reason is, like, you put in a performance. If you are going for the big belt, you put in a performance, whether you're winning or losing. Put.
So wait a minute. Are you saying Jake Lee had job face?
I'm saying that Jake Lee had job face and ankle weights because those legs were heavy and he wasn't leaving them. And he was doing weird. He was leaning into weird stuff.
All right, let me ask you this: not having watched the match, not having watched a second of it,
and that's why I'm a good friend to you.
Is there a chance that he got dinged early in the match?
No, because if we are talking women's NXT, you know, when they didn't really know what they were doing and they weren't necessarily hitting each other, they were a bit afraid to hit. That's what it kind of felt like a bit. It was very jarring when you see, you know, it wasn't strong style. It wasn't really anything. It felt a little bit Americanized. And then Jake Lee's kind of half doing his, you know, I'm a weirdo kind of gimmick. And I was like, no, that's not what it wasn't a case. It's not about you, Jake Lee. This is Yota Tsuji. He just needs W's under his belt. And
nope, disagree.
Well, you wanted Jake Lee to win.
I thought he should. If you're going to if you're going to have a heel as a champion and put the babyface on the chase, then why not do Jake Lee? Because he's imminently beatable. He can be beaten every night, and when he loses, you haven't lost any of your capital. Okay, but they're going to go long term with Tsuji now. When you are the champion, Joel, you wrestle the challengers match.
Yeah, that's fair. And
the challenger does his thing. The champion learns by beating the challenger and the challenger's style. Because Tsuji is not Bob Sapp or Brock Lesnar. He's not going to smash his way through this division. He's going to learn trial by fire, better match after match, take a little from this guy, a little from that guy, and he's going to have different opponents as a result, which could be part of the reason why Callum Newman won the New Japan Cup, because they want him to be the taste, the flavor that he gets in his second defense.
I think that when I saw it, I was like, no, this is better for Yota Tsuji because Callum Newman will give him a different type of problem. But yeah, I mean, we're going a long way back, but I read it, I was like, oh, but fortunately, I've long since forgotten that until I read the notes. But damn it, it's a sad state of affairs. But look, this is New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're talking about the hate.
Hiroki Goto was the first challenger for Okada on the run that, you know, he got the little sidetrack with Naito in April, but then he wins it back in June and runs the table for 2 years.
Yeah. But Jake Lee isn't Goto. Jake Lee
wasn't a seed when Goto was around, but Jake Lee is the equivalent to what Goto was then. Nobody thought Goto was. Everybody thought our friend. What? Listen, come on. We know this. Our friend calls him what?
Chief J Goto.
Thank you.
Shout out Damon McDonald, Super J Cost, Joel.
Thank you, Damon. He's Chief J. He's not going to win. He's a geek. And as a result, it's tough to enthrall the audience with your amazing style when they know you're not going to win. It's very difficult. Now, Okada was already Okada by the time we were getting to, because he's now finished with Tanahashi, and now he's going to have to go play in the sandbox with everybody else. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's Chief J, then it's going to be Tetsuya Naito. Oh, wait, he slips on a banana peel to Naito only to win it back, and then goes crazy.
Does Newman beat him?
If you look at the most recent stats with New Japan Cup winners, the odds are in his favor. More New Japan Cup winners have won. I think they've won like 6 of the 8 or 5 of the 9 last years.
At Chris Samsa, Sport of Pro Wrestling. Chris, if you're listening, and I hope you are,
At the Chris Sampson on Twitter, sportofprowrestling.com.
Kevin uses that in every conversation. He will put you over even in just a chat. If he mentions a stat, he will bring that up. I want you to know that. I have every detail of your socials memorized just from Kevin.
It's how you make people remember, okay?
Yeah.
Here's one thing that wrestling has never done. Wrestling has never had us say the wrestler name. It's always been hometown and weight.
Yes.
Hometown and weight makes no money for the wrestler unless it's like Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, and it's the answer to a trivia question. Okay. And most of the weights are fake. But let's come up with the Twitter handle at Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And the WWF World Heavyweight Champion from Atlanta, Georgia, Cody Rhodes. Something like that.
Yeah. Well, Matt Hardy, I enjoyed Matt Hardy. Yeah, the Matt Facts, the V1 SmackDown, and was that pre you getting sacked / cut or post? Pre. See,
but
you
they
can
didn't
take
let
credit.
me have anything to do with it.
No,
because they wanted it to be
we
good.
We need you down at OVW. He's doing really well, signing a lot of autographs. Kevin
saw that. What a crowd!
Oh, what a crowd! The Pope was everyone.
So, by the way, I hate being here. I love you.
Yeah.
But I hate being here. I don't want to do this.
No.
That's how I feel today. It sucks.
Yeah. And it's a long process. You had a big beat up session with some of your with the gimmicks that various nurse people, and you're telling me about some of the doctor issues and some of the weird, the patients telling you what they need, and the doctors going, nope, that's not protocol. And you're like, well, it's with people's bodies and stuff and minds. It's a little bit of give and take. You kind of have to, but hey, but we're gonna try and give you up, and this is the big one, Kevin. So Shibata. So this is my hot take for you, and I don't know. So Shibata, born 17th of November 1979. So good age. Second generation. New Japan Dojo. Great. 2017, in my opinion, he was in for Wrestler of the Year caliber year. If you look at his average rating on Cage Match for 2017 is 9.81. He faced Goto in a hell of a match, 4.5 stars, 8.93 from Cage Match. A Wrestle Kingdom, lost to Goto, lost that title. I was there for Matt Riddle versus Shibata at York Hall for Rev Pro. Wonderful match where he won. That was 4.5 stars by Unky Dave. And then he defended the Rev Pro title at New Beginning in Osaka against Ospreay. That was a 4-star match. But I have a little note because I saw Ospreay the day after. So he'd wrestled in Osaka, lost to Shibata, flew back, wrestled a 4-way ladder match for WCPW, and then he wrestled Ricochet, where the rope broke. I saw that, and guess what? He was in my hometown nightclub the week after at a crappy little wrestling show on the 17th of February. So the week after, and I bought a t-shirt from him and I said, Will, you're going to have to take care of yourself. I don't know how you're doing it, but that match with Shibata was insane. And he went, yeah. And I was like, oh, what am I doing listening to him? Do you want to guess what spot Will did in front of 120 people at a rotten nightclub in February?
I mean, probably something stupid where he lands on his head.
Yeah, he lets the promoter do a Canadian destroyer on him.
Okay.
He was like,
so he was not only trying to injure himself, but to kill the town.
Hey, no, he was trying to he was trying
could he not
to
do
put
a clean job to the talent and just take his stuff and leave?
He did. He was doing a he was taking over with B Priestley, and he was doing it like a big heel thing. I'm the big guy from New Japan. I'm the big star now, and he was trying to get his heat back, and then he let the promoter came in and said this is no good, and then did the Canadian Destroyer. Also on that card was Jimmy Havoc, where he did paper cuts on someone and then got lemon juice from the bar.
Can we move on?
We can move on, but I just wanted to put that in. Then on the 6th of March, ZSJ defeated Shibata for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight title at New Japan. Yeah, why? Because Shibata was getting a heavyweight title match in the New Japan Cup.
No. Because why did Zach win? Because of all the help he got from his new mates, right?
Oh yeah, from
Suzuki-gun.
Suzuki-gun, yes. But also the fact that Zach had kind of got very close, and it was done on the 45th anniversary, and I remember all of us going, well, Zach probably should win, but surely he would do it in the UK, and he won. And that was a pretty cool match, but no one really rated it because of all the hoopla. And then he just had tanks with Lethal Finlay and leading up to what was effectively going to be quite a difficult.
Well, Honor Rising.
Yeah, it was he did Honor Rising. He was tagging with Lethal.
That's what these matches were. So they were tag matches at Korakuen Hall, kind of like CMLL, kind of like Fantastica Mania, only worse.
And also with limited star power and a lot of multi tags and stuff that is just thrown together.
And just an emotionless New Japan group that said, these guys are on TV in America? And so anyway, so now the prep for the New Japan Cup, which is the spring special, the spring stampede, the spring tournament, whereas the summer tournament is the G1. And so we all get excited and we all get our pick'ems out, and it's a single elimination tournament. So one and you're done. An upset can crush your bracket. But if you hitch your wagon to the right horse, you go all the way to the finish line and you're in the money for fun.
Yeah, I mean, I said with ZSJ it was coming home many a time, and eventually it did. So it happens. But this New Japan Cup run from Shibata, can you remember who he faced?
I only remember him. I remember him beating, I think, Evil and Bad Luck Fale.
So close. So he beat Fale in the final.
In the finals, correct.
But the first round was against Suzuki.
Okay, makes sense.
3 3/4 star. That was on the 12th of March. That was 2017. That was a really, really good, like, as you would expect. That was a Suzuki Shibata match, which just sort of was rare at the time.
First time they had been in a ring opposite each other for quite some time, because Shibata was not there when Suzuki returned. So they were, Shibata had quit. And we'll tell the story, but let's remember, all the hope and all the future of New Japan Pro Wrestling was pinned onto Katsuyori Shibata's shoulders, along with Shinsuke Nakamura and Hiroshi Tanahashi. They were the new Three Musketeers. Who were the original Three Musketeers in New Japan?
Go.
Shinya Hashimoto.
My brain's
Chono.
Chono. And
Muto. Takeji Muto. Takeji Muto is your friend. He's the one you understand. He's Keiji Muto.
Jim Johnson, Kevin Kelly's coming for you. I would have bought that. That was beautiful.
Hell of a class in 1984, by the way, out of that dojo. My God, they'll never see another one like it. Add Liger to that class.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that class like early on, and we were like, yeah, this is an absolute insane amount. And that's so great about that dojo system.
Yeah. So the Three Musketeers originally were supposed to elevate New Japan at post Inoki, and instead they wound up being contemporaries of Inoki. But all three did have fantastic careers, Hall of Famers in their own right. Then the next generation comes around, and the new Three Musketeers, they're called. Let's do this again. And this time, it's, as we mentioned, it's Katsuyori Shibata, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I would think that number 3 on that list at the time was probably Shibata. Okay?
Yeah.
Just because he was a second-generation guy, a referee's son, So there may have been a little bit of a stripe on him. What I'm saying is, like, he's a referee's kid. He can only be so good. Whereas, you know, they knew Tanahashi just has this star power, this star quality. And of course, Shinsuke had different fighting styles and variety of background.
Yeah, and he had height and he looked different, even with a shaved head. You know,
yes.
So there was that. So Shibata was the one that just looked like. Well, I mean, it's his gimmick is the wrestler. That is probably what they saw in him, and probably why he was third on that, and maybe why he decided to leave.
Said he did not want to be in this, according to Chris Charlton's book, Lion's Pride, available on Amazon and wherever your favorite books are sold. He didn't want, the quote was from Shibata at the time, he didn't want to be a salaryman wrestler, meaning New Japan guys get paid the same. And he wants to see what the world of wrestling has for him and not be trapped in this system that he did not want to be a part of anymore. So he left, and it was a big deal. This goes back to the episode that we talked about where the inept ownership of New Japan Pro Wrestling. But at the time, the Kidani was not the owner, and Shibata walked, and that was that. So he floated around the world of wrestling and did different things and did eventually to come back. But now, Joel, he's primed. This is his year. Was he your favorite to win? I know he's your favorite wrestler, but was he the guy that you were thinking was going to win?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every time. And I saw his British title run in 2016. I've been lucky to see him live so much and how he carried himself, and the fact that there was quite a lot going on. He was fighting through a lot of injuries throughout. He always had the tape. I don't know if you remember, for like 18 months, he had the tape across his triceps and sort of the neck, and it would go along, and he had that for quite a while.
They love getting stingers over there. They love them.
And he apparently blind, partially sighted in one eye, and that is before what we're about to talk about. So he'd been through it. But I think he sort of wears these injuries as a point of pride, weirdly. But I mean, I had a little bit of a retro night where I watched a single cam of the second round of the New Japan Cup where he defeated Juice Robinson. You know the gimmick where they would just put the camera, they'd just have a hard camera, and they wouldn't do anything with the lighting. It was so they just had all the lights on, so you could see the entire crowd.
House show lighting.
Yeah. But it was a good match, and it made me think that even then Shibata had he was just able to do a lot with a lot of the young kids. It's why, I made a note that he was working with Finlay and he was working with Juice and doing a lot of stuff.
So his first opponent was Shibata, then it was Juice, then it was Evil, and then it was Fale. Those are the four.
No. So it was Suzuki, Juice, and then Ishii, and that's the one where he got choked and passed out.
Who did Evil face?
Evil was in. Was it Evil?
Stop?
Was it Evil Ishii?
Rightfully be thought to be.
Let's see. Right. So Fale beat Evil.
Got it.
So Evil beat Nagata, and then Sonada versus Yoshihashi. Woof. Ishii beat Kenny Omega in that one. That was quite a big.
Was the first round? Well, that was the first round upset, and that's the one that everybody was hanging their hat on. Was that it was going to be a Kenny Omega year to win the New Japan Cup?
Yeah, and also the fact that it was done in that 30, just under 30 minutes as well.
Correct.
A lot of people were just believing this is going to be an epic. Yeah, this was a really strong cup because Evil defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah,
there was two big upsets in the first round. Evil over Tanahashi, and Ishii over Kenny Omega.
Yeah, and that they would have ruined a lot of brackets. But
hold on a second. No, You're a bad boy. Fuckers. Get out of here, both of you. Go drive someone else insane.
Well, they clearly watched the Evil versus Farley match. That was it was 12 minutes.
How about Yano tucking Tama Tonga away neatly in bed 3 minutes 30 seconds? 3:46 rather. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, when I was on my brackets that I was looking, I was about to say Hiroshi Tanahashi, and then I went down and I was reading Yano and Tama Tonga. I just got absolutely confused because I was looking at that when I needed the information above it.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's why the New Japan Cup is normally, like a really fun one to watch. Do you think they should try and do like a tournament like this in one night? Do like a bit of a short burst, a little bit like that short, sort of King of the Ring, where they would do the semis, they would do quarters, semis, and finals in one pay-per-view night.
New Japan say instead of World Tag League?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, maybe something like that. Just making it like giving it something else, because a lot of these matches would have been absolute. So the first round, that's all on the one card, and that's awesome. But when you start getting to the second and third rounds, it becomes a little bit like you are multi-manning it quite heavily for the cup matches. So yeah, I think
No, you got the first round and the second round on 2 nights, 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming because they're back-to-back days, they're both at Korakuen, and your main event night 1 is Evil over Tanahashi. That's a big story. That's a big news story right there.
Well, and it's in Nagoya. It's in Nagoya.
Oh, his start was in Nagoya?
Yeah. Aichi, Japan, Nagoya. And then the second night was Hyogo, Amagasaki.
Anyway, and then obviously the next night was, that's right. It was it was not a Korakuen night. Now we watched Kenny get beat by Ishii, which was a big surprise to all of us because we thought we were priming up for the Ishii run or for the Kenny run. Then we were priming up for the Ishii run. And then we were priming up for the Evil run. We didn't think Shibata was going to win. Us experts around in the West, we were not focused on Shibata. We were not into Shibata as much as others were.
Yeah. And it was big. It was a lot of the pick'ems would have been Tanahashi, probably potentially.
It has to be Tanahashi because Okada's the champion.
Yeah, and then they were like, okay, no, if it's not, who? Kenny. If it's not, it'll be Ishii.
Had to be Kenny because he had just come off of dropping Shinsuke on his head and kicking AJ and taking over Bullet Club.
Yeah, and then people were like, do you know what? They can't possibly give it to Farley, so it's going to be Evil. But dear listener, it is Ishii didn't lose really. He passed out. So it was ref stoppage, right? So I was like, that is a cool comeback. Also, the fact that Shibata just sat cross-legged in the corner whilst Ishii came at him as he was coming to and was like, nope, I'm still going to hit you. I'm coming at you. I didn't lose. That was quite incredible. And then Shibata had to face Farley, and it was the Farley period where he was coming out in the mask. He was very big. I think Don was adding inches and weight to Don Farley.
No,
I know. Can you believe Don Callis might be a little bit of an exaggerator?
Shocked.
I know. And shout out to Don because all your boys seem to be going in the Hall of Fame this year. So
who cares? Move on.
Let's move on. So the road. You weren't there for the road like the road to Sakura Genesis, basically.
No.
So because they were all sort of tag matches with various people.
And here was the surprise to us. The surprise to me and Carino was that we did not get booked for the finals of the New Japan Cup, but we did get booked for Sakura Genesis. We weren't booked for Dominion, but we got booked for Sakura Genesis
in 2016.
This year.
2017, but it
Yeah,
was Don.
this was the year.
No, it was Don on commentary with you.
Well, okay, so it was the year before that me and Karina were surprise booked, but it was Don that we were doing more stuff. But I don't think we did the New
No,
Japan
I don't
Cup
think you did.
finals
No,
live.
no. I think you did. I think you did the last. I think you did the last, unless you did it on tape. But I know you weren't there for the.
Pretty sure we did it on tape.
Yeah, but you were definitely there for Sakura Genesis on the 9th of April. So we're coming up to 9 years. That was 9 years ago, and it was Wrestling Observer voted Okada versus Shibata as the 5 stars. Cage match 9.79. It was my 2017 match of the year that I put to. It wasn't the J cast at the time. It was the Puro cast.
Wow.
So that's how long ago it was. I told Damon, I was like, that is my match of the year. He's like, I can't argue with you. I was like, I don't want you to argue with me because I'm going to kick you out of my cast. And that would have been.
I can't argue with you.
Yeah.
I can't.
And to be honest with you, I shouldn't have been arguing with him because he just bought me dinner. Shout out Damon McDonald. You owe me more dinners.
You know who was really good in the New Japan Cup was Juice Robinson.
Yes. Well, I really... So that's interesting because I rewatched the Juice Shibata match. Even though it was a single cam, I really enjoyed it. And we love Juice. And I think Juice is going to be getting a little bit of shine in AEW. But I've said to you before, I did say emphasis on little.
Well, no, I mean he's like kind of in witness protection right now. I'm concerned for his health and safety.
Well, we'll hopefully we can send him like a flare or something, and he can just sort of fire it up into the air so we know where he is.
What about Jay White? Are they gonna put Jay White, Juice, Finley all together?
He's a farmer now. That's what we need in AEW: the Finley versus Jay White. Oh my god, they must be sick of the sight of each other. Yeah, well, the 3 of them, that would be interesting. But I've said to you, I was like, Juice Robinson should have been like the non-Japanese wrestler that was top tier.
We've got crops here. Just Jay White just picked.
Jay White, Farmer Jay, and Farmer Jay. But man, I couldn't tell what that was. Was that a strawberry or a beetroot?
It's a tomato. It's a tomato.
Hey, looked genetically modified. Americans.
It's
am
not
I right?
real. It's pretend.
Whoa, it's still real to me, damn it. So, Shibata had his brain removed, and then put back in. In this match, it was probably one of the best matches going. They did the cut to the title, and then we see a headbutt. And I know that you guys were there because both you and Don were clearly sickened by it.
Yeah, because you could hear it, you could feel it.
And you could feel it through the camera. Unnecessary. So incredibly not needed.
Unless your objective is to die in the ring.
And I'm not putting it past him, but
I'm not putting it past a lot of these wrestlers.
But this is the thing. Shibata is like an incredible professional. No one gets hurt by himself, seemingly. And I think the pressure of this match meant he felt the need he needed to put something else on it.
I absolutely agree with you, 1,000%.
And it's a shame that it's a headbutt because you are headbutting the golden goose. So not only could it go horribly wrong for your career, that could have ended the company. If that headbutt did some damage to Okada as well, that's it. Like, that's a big chunk of money gone.
Considering we didn't have Kota Ibushi back yet.
Yeah, there was no Ibushi. There was, Kenny was earmarked for something else.
Yeah, and the idea too of Ibushi being away had to do with there were 3 schools of thought. Number one was that it was a neck issue. None of the three were ever confirmed. So it could have been a neck issue. It could have been a post-concussion issue, which also could have been related to the neck. Or number three was depression.
Well, but the thing is that you can have one of the first two, and that leads to the depression. And
sure.
And it's not that something that is a big. I feel like it's still a big taboo in Japan. Is that level of mental health struggle and stuff as well. And I don't think it gets looked at too much because that's Ibushi's someone that has clearly had neck and head issues and concussions, and
Correct.
really probably having that mental issue with it.
Do you want to know what's destroying independent wrestling in the United States right now? Is not young guys doing dopey stuff, because young guys are going to do dopey stuff. But the fact that all through the 90s and the 2000s, we had people who would be veterans now die as a result of drugs and other issues. And now they're not there to tell the younger guys, hey, don't do that, or have them be in tag matches where they don't have to do it. And then they start to realize, oh, we don't have to do that to get a reaction.
Yeah. And they're few and far, and they are the veterans are few and far between. And those veterans that are still around are behind the scenes in
a lot of them are behind the scenes, and a lot of them are too old or beaten up to want to wrestle themselves, so they choose not to. I know the name that's frequently thrown about is, imagine how good Crash Holly would be on the indies.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be amazing, but he would probably be a producer in WWE. We would probably never see him wrestle.
Yeah, and then but they also had like a lot of back in the day. A lot of the producers would actually wrestle, or someone that a little bit more senior. They would put. Do you remember the Rock was just working with Owen Hart and was working with someone that would make him better? Who knew? Who knew that if you worked with someone that could make you, a veteran, it would actually probably make you a little bit better. But that's what I feel Okada versus Shibata was. It did feel a little bit like the veteran versus the kid. And there weren't that many times that you could feel like that, because Okada had been around for 3 or 4 years at this point at the very top. So that's something that was really unique. But at the same time, this injury, and this is I couldn't quite believe how low it was. Shibata made his return to that Grappling Rules 5-minute draw match with Zack Sabre Jr. in October 2021. It was the COVID year, so I think the G1, that might have been the finals of the G1. I think it had been pushed back because of the Olympics, because the Tokyo 2020 Olympics been put back to 21, so the G1 got put back to sort of September, October. It was very sort of ad hoc and do what you can. Shibata came out and in sort of wrestling shorts, and Zack Sabre Jr. came out, and then they had a grapple match for 5 minutes, and that was 5.5 years after, and he still couldn't get cleared.
Well, wait a minute now. He could have gotten cleared. He pissed off everybody by grabbing the mic and yelling into the microphone with Ren Narita.
Okay. So when was this? So when was the
he had the demonstration with Zach at the end of the G1, which was in the fall because of the COVID and the Olympics. Because of the Olympics, it was in the fall. There were no people in the building, and everything on Earth sucked because of COVID. Yes. Then it was at Wrestle Kingdom at Tokyo Dome, 5-minute demonstration match, same type of deal. This time Ren Narita, and it's going to be Ren Narita's final test as a young lion before he ends his excursion. And Shibata grabs the mic and says, "Forget this exhibition stuff. Let's have a 5-minute match. Go." Well, they full on blasting each other, having a regular old wrestling match. And New Japan Pro Wrestling said, we're not happy with you, sir, and we don't want to do business with you anymore. That was the end of that.
Was he still working? But they sent him to LA and just had him work the dojo
Correct.
in LA.
They were happy to have him train people. They were happy to have him. They were happy to have him be involved, but they were not sold on the idea of him wrestling because it's not something that you can say. Will this ever happen again? I can't guarantee that.
Yeah,
I think New Japan was looking for some sort of guarantee or perhaps some sort of money back if your brain falls out of your head.
Yeah, and I think it reminds me of, do you remember what, we're not going to go over it, but the CM Punk Hangman page where Hangman said something that wasn't agreed with before, and then Punk is like, well, how can I trust you? It's very sort of old school. In Japan, this was very similar. Shibata had agreed to do this, then got on a live mic, said, I'm going to do that. And I didn't know that was, so I didn't know that. Perhaps I should have, but I didn't really know it.
It's not talked about a lot. Who's going to talk about it?
You are. That's Strong Style Stories, baby. That's why we're here. And
I mean, what's her faces? Joel and Damon, they know it, and they probably said it. But that was the end of Shibata in New Japan, because it was after that. Now he was already starting, correct, at that time, working with AEW. He had already started because all of the Young Lions had left the nest or were about to leave the nest in LA. And no, they hadn't all left the nest yet.
Yeah, that was sort of more towards the end of 22, I want to say.
Yeah, but Shibata was headquartered in LA. So
yeah, because he was doing Strong. He was heavily involved in Strong, and
it was easy for AEW to book him because of Rocky, and he's there. And I guess the question was, did Tony Khan mind the risk? And I guess he was always fine with it. I'm sure I'm 100% convinced.
It must have had medicals. Yeah,
he's well aware. Yeah, and I'm sure he had medicals done, and they probably said, well, it is what it is, or he's as good as he's going to be. And, Tony loved Shibata, so you knew he was going to put him on TV, and did so happily on several occasions, including up until now. And nothing's gotten better. And, oh, by the way, you mentioned he's blind in one eye. He has no peripheral vision. He has absolutely no peripheral vision. And you know who knows that? Wheeler Yuta. You know why? Because Wheeler Yuta got KO'd by a back fist from Shibata because he couldn't see him. So it's not necessarily Shibata who's going to fall by the wayside because of some brain injury, but one of your young hopefuls had a big setback in his career because of El Concussiono from our friend.
And that's what's really sad. And that's what's really alarming is these things happen.
This is fact, by the way, folks. This is not some made-up grudge that Kevin has against AEW. This is fact, and this was known. And I love Shibata. Till the day I die, I will love Shibata. What a sweet man. But he has no peripheral vision. Wheeler Yuta told me he can't see and is a danger in the ring, you think?
Well, I also think that it's unnecessary. There's clearly a match structure and agent issue for that.
That's neither here nor there. But that's where we are. So let's go back to
the actual match itself, because you and Don were there,
right? So post headbutt, I felt calling it. Air got sucked out of the room. Such a gasp.
Yeah,
I felt that it didn't heighten the moment. I felt it took away from the moment. I might be wrong because it took away from my moment. It took away from the moment I was having because all I could think about was, oh my God, right? Now, everybody that was watching live in attendance at Ryogoku or watching all around the world on World, it didn't matter. It may not have mattered to them at all, and it may have just been another spot in the match. but moments like that take me out of what I'm watching. I like, as Regal says and said to me on many occasions, I like pantomime, Kevin. I like pantomime. And when you have a really, and it happens, if you're firing live rounds and one gets, one gets through, whoops, sorry. But this was purposeful, not to injure himself or to injure Okada, but to have that thud and that sickening sound and that feeling. Okay, so now I'm just focused on the camera. I'm focused on the shot because I want to know the story that they're telling so it can help me get back and tell the story of where we are. I know we're going home. Obviously, I know we're going home now at this point. Then they start to go into their closing sequence. Now I'm forgetting about the headbutt that I just heard, and I'm solely focused on the finish. And I have no idea who's going to win because I never knew who was going to win. Okay. So I've got A and B in my head, and I'm trying to figure out which one it's going to be as I'm looking into the monitor. And it turned out to be a very rumpled-looking Shibata taking an awkward-looking Rainmaker.
Yeah.
For the 1, 2, 3.
Because in my mind, I pictured when I watched it again, I went back in my mind to what I was picturing. I was picturing the big call of Rainmaker or PK, and because there were a few false finishes in it, and it's the stiffest looking Rainmaker at the same time it's the lightest looking Rainmaker. I can't. It's where Okada's doing
Shibata
the business.
Steps into it.
Yeah.
He did that all the time. He stepped into moves.
Yes.
And, Ishii does that too.
Yes, because it sort of gives the fact that you're not doing it to me, I'm doing it to me. Like there's a weird sort of that bravado, and that's a cool part of it. But Okada, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that you've got to say about Okada. The fact that I don't know what he knew. I don't know how he felt, but he was on the end of that headbutt, and he probably had a better idea than anyone else. Probably had a better idea of Shibata of just how bad it was. And I looked again, and I always look for the thumb, or the expose, Kevin. But you always look for the thumb because that's what you do. You thumb. That's sort of how it works. Nope. So I was like, that is just skull on skull. That is nasty.
When did you ever see them get color like that? When did you ever?
Never.
You're
never.
out of your mind.
Yeah, and
it was legit. It was a hard way,
and it felt like it was a hard way because it took a while for it to come. Like it felt like a while before he looks up and is going around sort of that Keiji the Muto face of like and the blood is trickling down, and you're like, this is drama, but it's the one where has this drama crossed over? What has it done?
And that's the thing. I never know where the line is, because if you're talking about all-time great matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling history, this either has to be in the conversation or could never be in the conversation. Because the match completely fell apart at the finish because something that they planned went awry.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's 38 minutes, and I wondered if it was going to go on for over 40, just because it was a big Okada title defense, and that was going to be my thing. I was like, there was a little bit of time afterwards. There was a little bit of business at the end of it. Another something I didn't really like about the booking and gets forgotten is Fale just lost in the New Japan Cup final. Comes out, powerbombs Okada, challenges him. I was like, I don't like that.
We had to have a challenger for Dontaku. We had to sell tickets for Dontaku.
Yeah, and
which was
I understood
at the 1st of May during Constitution Memorial Day out in Fukuoka.
Yes, Fukuoka.
But anyway, so it's either one of the greatest matches of all time or deeply disappointing or somewhere in the middle. It is not just a match. It cannot be a match because Shibata crawled out of the ring and kept his right arm away from the camera. Now, did Okada know that Shibata was messed up after the headbutt? He had to have, because he grabbed the arm that had nothing. Now, this is me as the detective putting this in post-match conversation and conversations with you over the years about this.
Yeah.
Shibata kept his right arm away from the camera. It's facing the audience. His arm was completely limp, as if he had had a stroke. Okay? And if you've known a stroke victim and they're paralyzed on one side of their body, their arm and their face, a lot of times, facial paralysis, arm paralysis, it's all on one side. And that's what he looked like. He staggers selling up the ramp, and they quickly get away from the shot that would show that his arm is a dangly mess. They go back to the ring for the celebration with Okada. Shibata's out and falls on the floor.
Yes.
He's in between. So the curtains, just to show everybody, this is the rampway in Ryogoku, and this is the first curtain. Then there is this area of darkness with no light, with nothing, no fabric. And so you have to go to your left and then to your right to zigzag around both curtains.
It's sort of like a Z shape in order to get around. Yeah.
In order to block, so this way we don't see the wrestler at the top of the ramp. Okay. And so Don and I sit there through the end of the show, which is the post-match 3 things, Fale attack, finish the show, confetti, hooray. Then we finish, we wrap. Don and I leave, we go back up the curtain. Now, we're generally the only heel that goes back up that way, or the only babyface, rather, that goes up that way, because that's the heel curtain. Again, we got a babyface champion. Fale probably just went out the side, and that was that. Because when we got through the curtains, there was Shibata laying on the floor, still. 10 minutes.
No one around him?
No one, except a camera crew, which was not a New Japan World camera crew, which was not a TVSI camera crew. It was like a documentary filmmaker. So I don't know if he had just gone through back through the curtain, collapsed, and laid there waiting for the camera crew, or they were having a little toast of water or something and then lay down and sell. Or he was legitimately down, laying on his back, unable to move, with this camera crew there, and they were just shooting him while he's in great pain. Don and I did not know what to do. Do we go and get some help for someone that we think is hurt, but we're not sure? Do we walk around the scene as if we've never seen it, potentially leaving an injured man to fend for himself, because the people that were the camera crew weren't medical? They didn't look like medical professionals. They just looked like a camera crew. And how do we not blow up the shot that the camera crew is working towards, if indeed all of this is a big giant work? Those were the 3 scenarios that Don and I were parsing through in our moments standing there. How do we get around this? We can't get around it. We can't leave him here. Well, who do we get? Well, we'll have to go down the hall to the left and go to the babyface locker room and see if we can get one of the trainers. Have they all gotten on the bus? I don't know. Who are these people? They don't look like any of our people. Well, what are they from? I have no idea, Don. Is he really hurt, or is he Wizarkin? I don't know. What are we going to do? We're right back where we started. See, because nobody comes to get us. We have to fend for ourselves at the end of the show. We leave, we go through the curtain, we head down towards the babyface locker room. Where we grab our bag, wherever it is, in one of the little side rooms. We put our bag on our shoulder and we leave. Then sometimes we'll say goodnight to the world team if they happen to be in the same room. And this was one of those occasions where we didn't see them. We didn't know where they were. Or I don't remember where they were. Maybe they were in the hallway to the right. But either way, I've got a fallen man at my feet. My first instinct to try and help him, and I don't know what to do. Do I need to help him because it's wrestling? Or do I not need to help him because it's wrestling? the next time I saw him, it was thank God, and he obviously was just so happy to be back in his suit, and he just looked great. You know what I mean? I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we have him in our lives, and we have him in our business, and we have him in our, in our sport.
Yeah. Well, do you know what happened? Or was it because this is something that's there are a lot of people, so there are a lot of journalists and people that were out there were said things, and I've basically used the mute button on Twitter at the time to just sort of realize what was the BS and not, because people were like, he's dehydrated. I was like, do one, there's water everywhere, like that if there's anything he's not, there's something going on. There were so many theories behind it.
Going into this tournament, everyone knew he was screwed up. Going into this tournament, everybody knew that Katsuyori, everybody in the business, everybody in New Japan, everybody in our circle knew that Katsuyori Shibata and his brain was jacked up, that he was dealing with the headache, migraines. He was dealing with what was reported amongst us to be migraines. Okay? Makes sense. Is he going to work lightly? Are they going to bounce him out of the tournament in the first round? Are they going to work around it? No, they worked through it. And the finish of the last match was him skull to skull, knowing that his brain was not good. And then there is wonderment all around that Katsuyori Shibata is hurt and out and done. Did he get his wish? Is this what he wanted? Is this why he hired his own film crew to document his own death or his own career's death? I don't know. But that's why
it'd be interesting to know if
none of us picked Shibata to win, and we all picked Kenny and we all picked Tanahashi, because there was no way that it would be Shibata because his brain is screwed up. Maybe it's evil. Well, that's a big push for the young guy. Maybe it's evil. No, it wasn't evil. It wound up being, and then once we got to the finals, we knew it wasn't going to be Fale. Even though they could have done Fale versus Okada at Sakura Genesis. Although I think there would have been a great fear that we would have not have had the house that we would have had. You can put Fale versus Okada in Fukuoka, even though that is Fukuoka, of course, is the town of Sugabayashi, the chairman. When he was just a promoter, that was his town. And he takes great care of that building and the matches and everything.
It was also a national holiday, which I think you said sells out pretty much. It's
well, there's 2 million people in the town, and it's the largest parade in Japan to celebrate Constitution Memorial Day. 1947, they wrote a new constitution, the signing of it, and the celebration of the new constitution, May 3rd, 1947. So they have the parade, or it's May 2nd. But they have this big parade in Fukuoka every year. By the way, the new constitution said we're no longer a militaristic monarchy, but rather we are a constitutional republic. And pacifism is the way to go. We will no longer attack any other nation. We will no longer start wars. We'll not participate in any wars. We'll not have weapons to attack, but only just the merest of defense weaponry. That's why there's so much about all of this right now. It's like they're facing, as is so often said, in jest or in whatever, it's a constitutional crisis. Well, it's a constitutional question.
Yes. Well, they're and that would have been the 70th anniversary, and I think they would have said, "Hey, the show in May is sold. We can give that spot to Fale."
Fale would be fine in Fukuoka. Plus, I think he played. I think he played rugby out there.
Rugby, yeah. That was sort of his area, I think. But he did do a bit of traveling with it. But yeah, well, but the thing that I always thought was this was a write-off for Shibata. He'd already lost the titles. This was going to be his chance, and this was a write-off for him to potentially recover. Because I always thought he had the tape element. Fale ripped it off in the match given, and he was sort of selling it, but didn't really. When Okada came out, he didn't look at him. He was just he was just sort of like nonchalant, and I'm like, okay, this is serious. And normally when this kind of stuff happens, it's I wasn't good enough. Okada bested me, and maybe the plan was for him to go away for a bit. So again, you don't know if it's a work or not, and there are different reports coming out. But I think Shibata did write something at some point, but I think it was maybe a year later where he's just said when I think one of the quotes is when I hit Okada in the head, I ended up losing 30% of my vision. It would have been nice if it knocked back some vision. Like it was like
Yeah.
when your TV's not working, you slap it to try and get it
Right.
going again. And I was like, okay, he does. You can tell he's got a sense of humor, um, but you dare not say it to him because the guy's scary. And Shibata,
He knocked out the DKC with one punch in the dojo. I love that story.
jeez, oh he
Hold on a second. The Pups love that story too. So everybody's having a couple of pops, right? Everybody's having a little drinky drink. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, oh, Shibata, blah, 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 blah. And Shibata's there, and DKC, come on, DKC, go challenge him. All right, you get up. And whatever he said, eventually, Shibata just, that was it. 99 DKC.
open palm.
Did he open palm? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's not going to break his knuckles on DKC.
He what I liked about Shibata was when he was in the LA dojo. So a lot of the Rev Pro contenders. So if you remember that the Rev Pro started a bit of like a young lion type system where it was the contender division.
I don't remember any of that.
So they were so you would have a lot of their students would come out black trunks, and it's how we got introduced to Curtis Chapman and Brendan and loads of really cool people came through it.
Dan McGee.
Dan McGee, yes. And what they
remember
would do
when Shaw Samuels killed Dan McGee? Oh my God.
I do. I also remember when Josh Bodum called him Danahashi and absolutely killed his babyface run. He's like, well, he's dead. He's done. Josh Bodum.
R.I.P. Josh Bodum.
He was claiming bodies even then, and Dan McGee was the big one. And but they flew out to the LA dojo, and I was speaking to them, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think this business is for me. It was like we were 2,000 squats in, and I was questioning my life choices and questioning whether I actually want to do this. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, because the thing with Shibata is he doesn't look. He doesn't look. It's not like the typical bravado wrestler, but also he's never out of breath, and he does a lot, and he's quite quick, and he's never gasping, and he's always looking quite cool. That is because that's a lot of squats that man does. That's a lot of he does a lot, and
he does all the squats and all the push-ups, all the body resistance exercises. Yeah, and he's in tremendous cardiovascular shape. He's in tremendous wrestling shape. He's confident. He knows what he's doing at all times. And when you're like that, you don't blow up. And by the way, as the trainees are doing these squats or these various body resistance exercises, he's walking around with a kendo stick in his hand. Not because he can hit them anymore, because those days are over, but just as a reminder that potentially he could. And it allows him also to tell you to get down this far on a push-up. He'll tap you on the back if he wants you to go down a little further on a push-up, whatever it might be. But he's not whipping guys with it, although he could have. Which takes us back to the TJP episode with the story of Yoshitatsu.
Didn't even need he just needed a refrigerator.
Just a refrigerator, and then was striking up conversation with TJP about Game Boy.
Yeah, Game Boy Advance games. Big fan, Shibata.
You got one? You need it?
He's. What we're saying is, this guy who, and I've watched a lot of, going back and watching this run, Kevin, it made me realise that what we were watching was probably the last feeling of realism in in wrestling in the fact that Shibata, in everything that I watched, and I've watched a lot of Shibata, but I was rewatching. It felt real. It made sense. It wasn't there to be show busy. It was very respectful of the sport, and I think that's what's missing now. It's you just need someone to go, would you do this in real life? I didn't see Shibata Irish whip anyone that often. If it was he would follow up
to set up the jumping drop kick in the corner.
Yeah, he would, but he never did he never really did too many, because every wrestling match
he didn't do fakey fake wrestling. He did real wrestling.
Yeah,
the question
Irish
is,
whip.
what would happen if I did this? Well, I'm not going to do that because it looks hokey.
Yeah, also I like to think that Kidani said, every time that you throw a clothesline and it's ducked, I'm going to fine you. That's how you build business back up, Kevin. Fine anyone that does the ducking a clothesline spot. But instead of clotheslining at the middle, you're clotheslining up here.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Everyone loves the 8-foot tall clothesline guy.
Yeah, especially when they would. This was the biggest exploit of the WWE in the mid 2000s when Rey Mysterio joined, because they were having him duck clotheslines, and you're like, guys, sometimes like you don't have to go through it. It's like,
correct,
because effectively, I think I can't remember who it was, but it was one of like the 6'6", 6'7" big guys that was throwing Ray around. But they did that spot, and I went, well, that's taken me out of it. But but you're never getting that with Shibata. But I think the
you know who you would have gotten it with, and let's go backwards. The equivalent from back in the day, would have been somebody like Dennis Condrey.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I was gonna ask you. Yes.
So a no frills, very much like always on the verge of violence. You're never quite sure what you were going to get. He just had that look in his eye all the time, and Shibata did to me as well. Consummate pro Dennis Condrey, who worked his ass off to get everything that he got in the business and showed the way. You could see the effort. Now, I don't think that Bobby Eaton would have been assing off in Midnight Express matches if he had had another partner. If it would have been, let's say, Norvell Austin in the original Midnights. But Dennis Condrey made Bobby Eaton work because Dennis worked. I also wonder how many times he may have had to yell at Cornette. Like, I haven't listened to Jimmy's podcast about it, but I always wonder, like, because Dennis was a little older and Jimmy could, I'm sure, as a 2, 3-year-old guy, could have had a propensity for silliness from time to time with him being so young. First time on the road, first time being away from home, first time making money in the business. Like, if Dennis ever had to jerk a knot in his ass like an older brother or like an uncle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you look at somebody like a Dennis Condrey, there was believability in everything that he did. And when you look at somebody like Katsuyori Shibata, there is believability in everything that he did.
Yeah. And that's one of the other things. I would highly recommend people go back and look at the Express, the real Heyman versus Cornette, that little run of, well, that would, like, the sort of the new Midnights versus the old, like the originals.
I mean, it's important to watch, but it was never, after the first angle, it was never going to go anywhere. So it
was never going to go anywhere. But you're basically seeing 4 incredibly great heel tag teams against each other and having to work in a way that really.
There's a house show from Houston. Well, it's not a house show. Maybe
it made TV. Are you talking about the one?
The Midnights versus the Rock and Rolls from '84.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's a TV, but I think
because they're in Houston, everything was recorded. But
yeah,
I'm not sure what we got, like a sanitized no commentary cut on it, or maybe there was commentary and I just never listened to it. but it's the house show match. It's the house
Yeah.
show match of house show matches where they just souped it up a little bit for Houston. They put all the good stuff in. So you wind up with an 18-minute match instead of an 11-minute match or whatever it was. But that's working. That's what you do. That's how you do it.
And if any young pro wrestlers are listening or watching, if you go back and watch it, as someone that has a disposable income kind of and spends on this or used to spend on this genre of entertainment in pro wrestling, me looking back makes it very difficult to watch what's on at the moment. I like just about AEW because it's about 40%, maybe close to 50% good. That's really hard for me to go, do you know what? I'm going to go to Wembley. I'm going to spend all this money and go to Wembley, Kevin. I'm not, because it's not quite there. You just don't take me for granted.
Well, you are going to Wembley because it's coming home.
Don't, because when you say that, I just assume that, no, Zach, don't go there, please.
No, I don't mean him. I mean England. I mean Arsenal. For the Wembley with Arsenal, absolutely. With the AEW, meh. Yeah, who cares? But Arsenal, this is the year.
I hope so, because we lost in a League Cup final. It was sad times, but it's not an important cup. It is just what we've done is we've skipped the starters. We said no, we're not going to have the soup of the day. We're going to go straight into the roast dinner, and we're going to have a cracking pudding afterwards. It's coming home.
Dory. Cracking pudding.
Cracking pudding.
Right after the roast dinner. Write that down.
Yeah, I hope she doesn't Google crack in pudding, because she might get some awful Google image searches.
Yeah, her search feature will be all screwed up.
Having said that, NordVPN, if you're willing to sponsor us, that's a great plug.
We do love a NordVPN.
Oh, I love a NordVPN. I have just upgraded. I was with Surfshark.
And all you have to do is type in Strong Style to get a 10% discount on your annual purchase of NordVPN.
No, we don't have that. We would love to have that. We are open for business, NordVPN.
Well, I'm just giving them a sample of what it could be like. All you need to do to get NordVPN for free is send Joel nude pictures of yourself. And Joel will determine whether or not you get the free NordVPN. He'll actually pay for it, but he'll put it in your name. How's that?
Hey, I can always not wear my glasses, so I can get away. I could probably get away with that. But no, thank you. But send money. We'll also... If
you send £100 to Joel right now, he'll place a bet on Bet365 on NordVPN. And if it comes through, he'll keep it. And
set in play now.
Yeah.
Shall we have a little anecdote of our dear friendship? Of you want to talk about insider information?
Yeah, let's go inside.
Insider. Get a message from Kevin. Just one of the Rumbles is coming up. Bet all of your money on Omos appearing. It's going to be huge, I tell you. I was like, well, I'll put £1 on it, Kevin. And I put £1 on it, and that pound has since left me. So the top...
Wait a minute. Omos had just left Pro Wrestling Noah and was as hot as any wrestler who's done anything like that in the longest time. How could they not use the 7-foot-plus giant at the Royal Rumble?
And what we've done there is Kevin shirked the blame and put it directly onto the creative team at WWE. And I, for one, believe that's true. That's the real story. Omos should have been in that, and I 100% agree with you.
The only time we saw him since then was AJ Styles' retirement. Why not just do an Omos retirement? Practically the same thing.
Hey, they're no longer the land of giants. They're the land of 40-plus-year-old men.
For the Berserker, John Nord getting into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, we want you to save money on NordVPN. So I want you to go down to Stamford, Connecticut, fans, and I want you to carry one of those big giant swords that the Berserker would have. And I want you to swing it around out in front of the lobby there at Stanford. And let them know that NordVPN is number one. What?
If you're going to swing anything, have a blue chew.
You can swing that too, brother.
Yeah, go down to Stanford and swing that. And say, I want the Berserker. That, I think, is okay. But the sword wielding...
How about... And please, and this is a serious note, please let Downtown Bruno come out and say a few words about Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice. Please let him come out and say a few words about his friend at the Hall of Fame. Because usually the legacy inductions, they don't get a speech, they just get a picture and a sad song. But if Bruno could come out and do 5 minutes on Sid, it would be awesome.
And invite Casey as well. That would be nice. There you go.
We talked about it. Well, we did a comeback show just to talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea of Sid going into the Hall of Fame after his first run, where he was difficult to do business with because he had his own mindset and he was going to do things his way and he wasn't going to listen and he was difficult to work with and blah, 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 blah. To then turn it around for everybody who loved this guy and winds up, you know, going into the Hall of Fame posthumously, unfortunately. But if you would have said after his first run, is this guy ever going to go into a Hall of Fame of any kind? Oh, God, no. He's just going to go play softball and hopefully he doesn't kill anyone. And then he tried to stab Arn Anderson with scissors.
That's who should induct him.
That's a rib.
But
now, that rib, I am sure that rib has been beaten into the ground already within the offices. Somebody's probably texted him. Like, I could see an Adam Pearce texting Arn saying, by the way, are you booked for the Hall of Fame? Just checking.
Beautiful.
Guaranteed.
One of my favorite quotes from Sid is, I think in 2005 they did like 25 Raw 25 or 25th anniversary. They did a special, and Sid came out and he was in his jeans and he kicked some jabronis around. I think everyone was like, "Oh, would you like to come back?" And it was at the time that they were steroid testing, and it was like, "But you will have to go through some tests." It's like, I'm all steroids. Oh, it's what's keeping me together. I was like, this is how I walk around the house now. I have to, but he was open about it. If you could say whatever you want about the guy, but he was probably too honest at times.
Didn't care at all.
Yeah, what a great character.
I think Sid has just arrived along with the folks from NordVPN. So let's wrap this.
We'll cut this up. Thanks very much for listening to us. Thanks for putting up with the fact that it took us a while. Ciao, sayonara, bye-bye.